What is up, everybody? Thank you for clicking on the video today. We are going to cover NFL minicamp has wrapped up. We're going to have takeaways for you for each and every NFL team, a note, a news blurb, something for each NFL team today. So click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and away we go. We're going to do this how I like to do everything, starting in alphabetical order. And this is all based on an article that came out from The Athletic. And if you haven't subscribed to The Athletic, I would highly encourage you to do so. They have a deal going on, $1 for the first 12 months. It's absolutely worth it. So we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. And the takeaway is this. Kyler Murray, there's a lot of optimism surrounding him because at this time last year, he was recovering from an injury. So another healthy year from Kyler Murray. He gets Marvin Harrison Jr., another year in the system. All vibes are good in Arizona, especially surrounding him. The Cardinals still have questions, but an offseason building around him and having him healthy is so important. So that's the takeaway from the Arizona Cardinals is, oh my God, Murray's healthy, and that's a positive, and all signs appear to be go for Kyler Murray. Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins has been the difference that everybody thought he would be in this offense with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. All of those guys are reportedly raving about how good he is, how good he is with them, how good of a player he is. How it's just going to unlock this offense. It's going to be everything that we think it's going to be for players like Drake London, Kyle Pitts. So it's going to be an offense to watch in the NFL, and Kirk Cousins is making it happen. And again, these are early reports, come like pre-training camp, post-mini camp. So take it with a grain of salt, but everything looks good in Atlanta right now. Baltimore, big story really. They're going to have some competition for three of their offensive line spots. Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum are the left tackle and center respectively, but all of the other offensive line spots are up for grabs. So some of those players that are competing for those spots: Daniel Falele, Josh Jones, Ben Cleveland, and the newly drafted Roger Rosengarten and Andrew Voorhees, who missed his rookie season while recovering from a knee injury. So the Ravens, I mean, potentially this could affect Derrick Henry, a shuffled offensive line. Who knows? So hopefully the Ravens can figure this out, but there's going to be an open competition for three of those spots. The Buffalo Bills, not much to really report here, but they've been having some injuries with their linebackers, and it left them shorthanded. And so they had to send out minicamp tryout invitations to Shaquille Quarterman and undrafted rookie Stephen Hills because Balin Spector, Dorian Williams, Edufuan Olofashio, and Nicholas Morrow were all hurt. So this is a team at the linebacker spot that's going to be depending on Terrell Bernard to stay healthy. Obviously, Matt Milano was an all-pro last year. So again, not a huge concern, but definitely something to note that the Bills are dealing with some injuries along their linebacking core. Carolina Panthers. This is what we want to hear if we're a Carolina Panthers fan, that Deontay Johnson is the difference in this offense. The Carolina Panthers traded for him for a reason, and that's because he gets open and earns targets. From 2020 to 2022, the dude earned 153 targets on average. So he can absolutely be a difference maker for a year two pick in Bryce Young. And you look at a lot of the moves that the Panthers made, a lot of the moves were, let's get offensive line, interior offensive line, Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt. We're going to pay Robert Hunt $100 million. We're going to trade for Deontay Johnson. We're going to draft Xavier Legette. We're going to draft Jatavian Sanders and Jonathan Brooks. I mean, they might not be moves that we agree with. They might not be the picks that we would have made, but all of these picks, all of these moves are centered around one thing. They are desperate to make the number one overall pick in 2023 a success. And he's got a pretty good chance with Deontay Johnson. And supposedly that's going really well. And the concern was coming in that he was a problem in Pittsburgh. And when Pittsburgh trades away wide receivers, as we've seen with Chase Claypool, that can be an indicator that, hey, if Pittsburgh doesn't like him, damn, that's not a good thing. But all signs appear to be good, at least initially, for Deontay Johnson and Carolina, getting along great there. Chicago Bears, my Chicago Bears. The defense is getting the better of the offense to this point, but the defense was one of the better defenses towards the end of last season, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Caleb Williams is now part of an offense that we all know: DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, Cole Kmet. But according to TJ Edwards, they're talking a little trash on the field. They're trying to make this as real of an experience for Caleb Williams. And as a Bears fan, I absolutely love that. So a lot of positive news coming out of Bears camp. Cincinnati Bengals, new offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher is bringing a lot of new things to the offense, including a lot of motion, a lot of a lot of eye candy, as Joe Burrow talked about. So it's a new offense there, but again, it's a new offense with a lot of the same pieces, right? It's a new offensive scheme with a lot of the same pieces. You still got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. They drafted Jermaine Burton. They bring in Mike Gesicki. No Joe Mixon, but you bring in Zach Moss, and you have Chase Brown there. So it's going to be a really good offense, but look for more motion. At least that's what's being reported here early on for the Bengals, and it's, that offense should be really good. And speaking of an offense that's not getting off to the best start, at least according to the beat reporter Zach Jackson, he says here about the Cleveland Browns: I have questions, pretty significant ones, about the Browns receiving core. So Amari Cooper has missed the whole offseason program because he wants a new contract. That ain't great. Jerry Jeudy's missed the last 3 weeks with what the team says is a minor injury. And Deshaun Watson, he's going to need playmakers. And the Browns still seem to have a lot of questions here um, in this offense. So we're going to need to see more. Again, it's early, but it's not great that Amari Cooper's not on the field. It's not great that Jerry Jeudy's dealing with an injury this early. So we'll see. But again, according to this reporter, he's not seeing a lot of impact plays in the spring practices, in the mini camps. But again, we'll see. Like, once we get closer to the day, this is all we have to go on right now. But not great so far in Cleveland. Dallas Cowboys, Brandon Cooks and Dak Prescott. There's a connection forming there, according to their beat reporter, John Machota. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb's still their number one target, but it's clear that Cooks is the number two wide receiver, and he could have a lot of opportunities in this offense. Like, when you look at this offense in general, it's an offense that's really top heavy at wide receiver. You got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and then Jalen Tolbert, and then Ryan Flournoy, and not too many other people. The backfield is now, they bring Zeke back, Rico Dowdle. There's no doubt to me that this is a team that's going to be passing the football, and Brandon Cooks should be a beneficiary of that passing volume. So that's a situation to monitor. Denver Broncos, Zach Wilson. It's, according to this beat reporter, Nick Kosmider, Zach Wilson's not really fitting in well in this system so far. So the fourth-year quarterback, he has a great arm, but he's not taking to the offense as well as they thought he might. And it's hard to think about him as the team's week one quarterback right now. So that's probably going to be Bo Nix, if I had to guess. Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are all clicking on all cylinders. I mean, they have their two coordinators back. I mean, Ben Johnson was rumored to be up for some head coaching jobs, but he decided to come back to Detroit. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, this is his fourth year with the Lions, and they have a lot of the similar players back. And Dan Campbell, he's biting kneecaps and taking everything seriously. So a lot of good vibes from Lions mini camp. Green Bay Packers, ironically enough, they're so arrogant as a team that they're just worried about their kicking game. That's all they're concerned about, because that's what the write-up is here. They're wondering who their kicker is going to be. Oh, whatever, who cares? It says Anders Carlson missed a field goal or extra point in 9 of the 12 final games, and so there's a competition between him and Jack Podolesny or Greg Joseph. So heating up at Green Bay camp, by God, the kicking game. Who cares about the kicking game? Nobody. Anyway, we need a better report from Green Bay. Houston Texans, Mike Jones, the rapper, I guess, is saying that the Texans are, talking about John Mechie. John Mechie, we kind of forgot about him, but he's been very impressive at camp, and so that's going to be a player to keep an eye on if you're a fan of comeback stories. John Mechie might be the guy this year, and of course, that Houston Texans offense is just insane with Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud running the helm, and now they add in Joe Mixon as well. Indianapolis Colts, Adonai Mitchell he's been the standout player there in the spring, and he's even gotten a lot of praise from the quarterback Anthony Richardson. Quote from Anthony Richardson, he gets open a lot. I like to hear that when I'm, potentially looking at my round 2 pick there in Adonai Mitchell, a player that many people thought would go a lot higher. So it's good to see that Adonai Mitchell looks really impressive in the spring. Jacksonville Jaguars, Brian Thomas Jr., again, making a good first impression in this offense. This could really be an offense that a player like Brian Thomas Jr. and they brought over Gabriel Davis could unlock. Like, just think about how a player like that stretches the field. Think about what they already had. They had Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, players that work the middle of the field, and now you just need an outside stretch receiver that can also haul in big plays down the field, like Brian Thomas Jr. And according to Jeff Howe, the beat reporter, he seems to make a positive first impression. And Thomas is in a good spot, he says, because the Jaguars already have a cachet of proven skill players, so he can come into his own at his own pace. It's a great situation for him. Doug Peterson's a good coach. Kansas City Chiefs. NFL, if you were worried about the Chiefs last year, you should be extremely worried about them this year because they just refilled their injector full of speed, speed, speed. Marquise Brown looks good, developing chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs put out a video of Mahomes linking up with Marquise Brown multiple times on June 12th. So go check that out on Twitter. Xavier Worthy, also 4.21 speed to go with Travis Kelce. We don't know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice, but at this time last year, the Chiefs opened up camp with Kadarius Toney as their wide receiver 1. Now Kadarius Toney's probably their wide receiver 4 or 5, depending on the availability of Rashee Rice. I assume he gets suspended, but more to come with Rice as soon as we hear something. We'll put out an update on the draftrankings.com. The draftrankings.com. This is a good moment in the show to remind you of the draftrankings.com. If you haven't gone over there to subscribe, go over there, subscribe to the draftrankings.com. That is where we are. That is where you can find all of our content as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. It means a lot. It means that you care about our content. We're trying to deliver the best possible content for you, and the way that you can let us know that you like it and that you enjoy it and that you want more of it. So click the like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all of you who have done that already. Let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders and the quarterback battle that's heating up. Gardner Minshew versus Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback battle of our lifetimes. Who will win? It's very close right now, but both quarterbacks really aren't impressing too much. Both are very similar quarterbacks who have just average arm talent, athleticism, and size. So it's going to be a battle, and right now there's not much to go on. They split reps fairly evenly throughout the first team offense, throughout OTAs. Luke Getzey's system neither stood out much during practices, and this is according to Tashawn Reed from the Raiders. Let's get into one of my favorite reports because it's Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers. So according to Daniel Popper, the beat reporter there, the Chargers capped all of their OTAs with what Jim Harbaugh terms a fourth quarter finishing period. Practice would end, the team would huddle up from a speech from Jim Harbaugh, and then the groups would go and do additional exercises like carrying medicine balls for 50 yards, dragging sleds, flipped over weight contraptions. They did push-ups and planks. And the best part is that Jim Harbaugh participated in every single one of these drills after practice. He participated alongside the players. I think Jim Harbaugh still feels like he could go out there and sling the rock a little bit, maybe in a fourth quarter situation, lead him down for a field goal. I think Jim Harbaugh still believes that he's got it. And the every part of me wants to say, "Oh my God, this is stupid. What coach would do this? What a dumb thing to do." But I can't. Jim Harbaugh is just awesome to me. So let me know what you think in the comments. But Jim Harbaugh taking a part in the practice in the fourth quarter finishing period or so. That's what they're calling it. Los Angeles Rams, they're another year older. So last year, this was one of the youngest rosters in the NFL, and now they're another year older. Steve Avila has shifted to center. That's a notable update. And another update or another thing to notice was Matthew Stafford is there, despite an ongoing contract situation with him. And that's according to Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic. Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel isn't hiding from the failure. It's been 24 years since the Dolphins made the playoffs. So Mike McDaniel is one of the more interesting coaches in the NFL. And he is quoted as saying this: 724, 324, 524, highlighting that number 24. You do that to empower guys to know what's coming, to understand it, to not run from it. If you're going to achieve success where people are predicting failure, you're going to have to go above and beyond. So the Dolphins are doing their utmost to end their playoff streak, or their playoff win streak, rather. Minnesota Vikings are doing right by their newly drafted quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. What do I mean by that? I mean that they are not pushing him to start right away. So the plan is right now that Sam Darnold is going to play week 1. They expect big things from Sam Darnold, and that's their plan going forward, and that's what makes the most sense for a quarterback like JJ McCarthy, who needs time to develop as an NFL player. JJ McCarthy throughout the process reminded me a lot of Zach Wilson, and that's not to say that I thought he was a bad player. I thought he was a really good player, very talented, but just not a ton of experience running an NFL system, throwing the ball deep down the field. And so I always thought he would need time to adjust, and I thought the Vikings would be one of the best situations for him to land. And so far, it seems like the Vikings are handling it very well. Another team that's handling their quarterback situation well, in my opinion, is the New England Patriots, because Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback. They are not mincing words. Number 3 overall pick Drake May is going to have the chance to compete in training camp, but right now they're coming out and saying Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback. That's going to be really good for those weapons as well. Like if you're drafting some of those New England Patriots weapons right off the bat, that should be good for Jalen Polk. That should be good for Demario Douglas. So Javon Baker, Antonio Gibson, Ramondre Stevenson. You would think that the veteran should be a little bit better than the rookie right off the bat. And then eventually Drake May will take over maybe in year 2. But again, not pushing the rookie to play right away is always a good idea as far as I'm concerned. New Orleans Saints, Marshawn Lattimore, is there. There's a lot of indecision about his status, and whether or not he's going to remain with the Saints, but he wants to remain with the team, and it's a really good room. They have Paulson Adebo, Alante Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry, who they drafted in the second round, and still he wants to be with the Saints, but again, who knows what the future holds with Marshawn Lattimore. That's the report out of Saints camp. New York Giants, Malik Neighbors hype is heating up. You knew it was going to happen. Of course, it's the New York market. It's Malik Neighbors. And of course, he's going to get some comparisons to Odell Beckham Jr. thanks to the LSU tie. But he seems to be picking up the playbook really well, seems to be acclimating to the team very well. So a lot of positive vibes with the New York Giants. And it looks like Malik Neighbors is everything that they expected him to be and more to this point. New York Jets have a better backup plan this year. They have Tyrod Taylor as a backup quarterback. They have Braylon Allen behind Breece Hall, and they drafted Isaiah Davis, and they have Israel Banakanda backing up Breece Hall. They have Olu Fashanu backing up Tyron Smith, their first round pick. So they are preparing for what's going to be, potential injuries down the line. So they are bolstering their depth, and that was a point of emphasis for them, and it shows so far through the mini camps. Philadelphia Eagles. This secondary is more noticeably equipped, according to the beat reporter Brooks Kubina. Brooks Kubina. There we go. So the last year they surrendered the second most passing yards in the NFL, but they look a lot better this year with players. I didn't even mention Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Isaiah Rodgers. Isaiah Rodgers was reinstated after serving a 1-year gambling suspension. So it's going to be interesting to monitor that, to continue to monitor that throughout the offseason to see how those players are looking and if this secondary can improve, because they really like what they're seeing so far. Pittsburgh Steelers, the wide receiver 2 position is very much up for grabs. Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Denzel Mims, Marquez Callaway, and Des Fitzpatrick are all in the mix, with Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins currently at the top of the depth chart. Of course, rookie Roman Wilson is there as well. But the last sentence of this write-up says, according to Mark Caboli, but the entire group has been underwhelming enough that a big swing appears imminent. That's a very ominous thing to write. But what I took away from all that is George Pickens is their clear number 1 wide receiver. Take that information and do with it what you will. 49ers. The cornerback group has looked deeper than it has in years. The best player, of course, at the position is Charvarius Ward. He's coming off of an offseason core injury and didn't take part in the offseason in the mini camps. Number 2 guy, Diamorde, I can't even say it, Lenore, wasn't on the field for mini camp either. But the 49ers, they got a lot of bodies at the position. Veteran Isaac Iadam took a lot of snaps. Rock Yassin, Ambry Thomas, Darrell Luter Jr. also are in the mix. But the guy that the blurb points out is Renardo Green. Looks like he could challenge for the nickelback spot in with the 49ers. Seattle Seahawks going to put more responsibility on Geno Smith this year. They have a new offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, who's coming over from the University of Washington. And he said the offense isn't going to be as pass happy, but like he said, Geno Smith is going to be running this offense. This offense is going to go through him, and they can really do whatever they want because they have good running backs. They have good wide receivers, maybe the deepest group of wide receivers, one of the deepest in the NFL, with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. So it's going to be interesting to see how that offense progresses and how Geno Smith is going to do with a new offensive coordinator. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we have 3 more teams to go. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel. Vita Vea could be even better in 2024. So he's lost weight. He's been training with Ndamukong Suh, and he's closer to 350 than 347 is what he's listed at. But they think he's been a lot heavier than that. And this is going to be important for a guy that's been dealing with injuries in the past. They need to keep him healthy if they want to compete in that division, and they should look to compete in that division. Tennessee, their offensive line looks really, really good. Really good. Nicholas Petit-Fier was lost last season to a shoulder injury. So he was rehabbing and he was unable to participate. But Lloyd Cushenberry, the key signing that they made at center, Peter Skoronski, they both look to have improved this year. And J.C. Latham it says here, he's impossible to miss. Quote, he's huge, athletic, and has the voice and presence of a seasoned veteran. So this offensive line with Bill Callahan, by the way, who's a legendary coach, great offensive line coach, should be a really good offensive line. So when we're thinking about, and I know this is the NFL section, just take that information and do with it what you will. This offensive line in Tennessee is going to be really good with Will Levis and company. And last but not least, the Washington Commanders. So a lot of positive vibes coming from this team. Holdovers, Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen. were very upbeat with this new regime, with the new owner, with the new coach and Dan Quinn. Jaden Daniels, though, Jaden Daniels looks like the real deal, at least so far in mini camps. He is working hard. He's getting to know his teammates, and he's willing to put in the extra effort to compete. And that's exactly what you want to see from a rookie quarterback who's going to start right away. It's not like a situation with the Patriots where you got Jacoby Brissett. It's not a situation with the Vikings and JJ McCarthy where Sam Darnold's going to start. It's going to be Jaden Daniels' show from the very beginning. But let me know what you think of all that. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. My name is Seth Dewald. You can follow me on Twitter at Seth_DIEWOLD. And those are 32 NFL teams, takeaways from mandatory minicamp. We have NFL training camp around the corner. Pretty soon, we're going to have preseason. Pretty soon, the Bears are going to be on Hard Knocks. And then, before you know it, September is going to roll around and we're going to have football, baby, and it's going to be great. But again, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, go over to the draftrankings.com for everything that we have to offer. And we will see you later. Bye-bye, everybody.